Hello there, and welcome back to War Thunder. So, several of you have actually expressed your liking for my statistical approach to a tank review. And why not with this tank? Because I think it really needs to be shown how this tank goes from one extreme to the other in more than one aspect. Both the mobility, the firepower, and other statistics that are also pretty unusual for this tank. So we have the highest top speed of 121 kilometers per hour, and we have the strongest 105mm APFSDS in the game so far. That sounds amazing. But that's not the entire story, and this is what I tried to bring you closer in this tank review. As usual, a full rundown on the statistics with some gameplay in the background. For whom this is too much, I have to say that this is down to what I have a little bit as a legacy on this channel, because I do this for years, and I know that's confusing, but my tank reviews are meant to be watched not on a mobile device, as quite a few of you do. I see this thanks to YouTube statistics, but rather on a big screen where you can see the numbers, you can see them for yourselves, etc, etc. But you know what? That is a lot of theory crafting, and I think let's get into the real theory crafting right now without further ado. I hope you enjoy. As usual, I want to begin the review with a look at the armor, and it looks at first glance a bit trolly and promising, with here this side fence, this magic Maxus 2 armor, some high hardened rolled armor, and also some composite screen, multiple layers, etc, etc. But in all honesty, it doesn't really matter. Then on the other hand, thanks to the changes for hull break that Gaijin recently did, I didn't really hull break, but I got penned by anything anyways, especially, you know, HeatFS and APFSDS from proper main battle tanks. Versus some autocannons, yeah, I bounced some, but you really shouldn't rely on it. The armor is, you know, vastly dispersed, and if somebody just, you know, goes through with the SPA, then he might hit that one pixel where the shell goes through. Overall, the vehicle is an 8-wheeled tank that is pretty long, and we'll see this later on also in a comparison. The hull is a relatively sizable target, but the turret is rather narrow. And also this 50 cal you can rotate to the right independent from the gun, and also upwards, but not to the left, unsurprisingly. So yeah, I have not died once to hull break. Maybe I was extremely lucky, and maybe the changes went a bit further than I thought. Then let's have a look at the X-ray. So we can see that there are actually the engine in the front that in theory can stop some shots, and that has happened to me once or twice, but don't rely on it. And we only have 3 crew members, the driver and gunner together with the commander in the turret. So the other thing is that also with only 2 crew members you are at full combat capacity as far as your gun reload goes, because we have an automated and mechanized ammo rack, as it is called here. The first one is 8 rounds, and the other one being 9 rounds, one in the breech. That's a total capacity of 18. And yeah, after that you have a pretty long reload after the first 9 rounds. So survivability, there are parts of the tank that are really empty, but to be honest, in War Thunder, that's not really gonna help. 2 more things. First of all, the gun breech is tiny, but in practice it's big enough to get hit anyway, because people just have the muscle memory. And also the turret is rather rear mounted, which really screws a bit with the gun depression more than it already does, because of the I think oscillating turret. And also when you come around the corner, there is a long big portion of your tank where the enemy just can stop you dead in the water and just disables you, and you have no chance of retaliate, even more so than normally. And I think this is now the armor and the survivability being done. It's a bit better than some other tanks that you might expect from it, because it has in War Thunder paper thin armor, but the other statistics are also a complete up and down, sometimes the worst and sometimes the best in the comparison. And without further ado, let's continue with the statistics. Let's start the number comparison with the mobility, and we can see that the M1128 Stryker has the second weakest engine with only 350 horsepower for a 23.4 ton tank, giving it the weakest horsepower to ton ratio in this comparison with 15.0 dead, it being up to 80% less than the competition, in this case the Radkampf 90, which has nearly 27, which gives it an incredible performance on the battlefields on War Thunder. The Stryker, on the other hand, feels really top heavy, really slow, really sluggish, and absolutely not up to the standards of battle rating 9.0. On the other hand, we have the highest top speed with 121 kilometers per hour. On the other hand, thanks to the map design and the rather close quarterly nature of especially city fights, you in theory or in practice never can exploit this theoretical advantage. The reverse speed seems a bit more appropriate with only minus 16 kilometers per hour. Yes, I know there is a little bit of a mistake in the color code. Doesn't really matter. The difference is clearly visible to the competition, which is more than twice as fast in reverse. The tank has, because it has 8 wheels, no neutral steering, which doesn't count for the CV90-105 as a Swedish premium light tank, and also for the MX-10RC that with its 6 vehicles actually has neutral steering. So the tank has its fair share of problems on medium terrain and especially mud or going through water. It's incredibly slow, and all the tanks will actually overtake you at this battle rating. So you really have to look for the portions of the map where you can go fast on a road and then hope that nobody is really paying attention to you while you slowly but surely get up to speed and then zoom across the battlefield into a sniper position. The second part of the number comparison is then the gun handling, and let's talk about the M68 A1 E8 105mm gun. And you can see that's the standard caliber for those wheel tanks, and also in this case the light tank, but we have by far the lowest amount of ammunition, only 18 rounds, and the first 9 rounds are kind of in the autoloader, which is awkward because with 10 seconds you have over a third longer reload than the majority of your competition. That's not good. On the other hand, it's independent from your crew skills, and even if you're down to only 2 crew, you still have 10-second reload. So maybe some other tanks are a bit worse off if they then are damaged, which as a light tank / tank destroyer, you should never get shot at in the first place, which is easier said than done, right? But then again, we have the fastest or joint fastest turret traverse with 40 degrees per second. But then again, we have this bad gun depression and gun elevation, which is the joint worst. So -5 is the worst, up +15 is the joint worst. But then again, we have 36 degrees of vertical gun traverse, so that is absolutely insane. And then another factor comes in. You have thermal imaging, 3rd generation, at battle rating 9.0, not just for your gunner, but also for your commander. But awkwardly enough, amongst here all the tanks, you are the only one that doesn't have the scouting ability. I don't know what this kind of statistical roller coaster is with this tank, but it at times really feels awkward. So you can really spot enemies everywhere with your thermal imaging, but to get them guns on target because you have a lack of acceleration and lack of gun handling is awkward. But in close quarters you're then really good, you know, on flat terrain. This tank has a little bit of a Soviet flavor, Soviet or Russian flavor, which is just really different, and I like it for having that difference, for standing out, but it's just in a really awkward way, right? And the third part of the statistical comparison is the ammunition, where it gets really bizarre in a really awkward way at some point. But that will take a time to get up there. First of all, we start with the stock HeatFS, the M456A2, your standard NATO HeatFS round, 400mm of penetration at any distance, with neutral normalization, as it is usual with HeatFS, 1173 meters per second muzzle velocity. HeatFS at this battle rating isn't that good anymore as it was in previous tiers, because you have Euro protection, you have composite armor that is really good against heat armor. If you fight in an up tier, there are bushes, fences, trees, houses, any sort of obstacle in the way will prematurely detonate the shell by initiating the fuse. But the salvation comes at rank 1 already with the C76A1 APFSDS round. APFSDS round in generals are significantly better than HeatFS at this battle rating. They're easier to lead with the higher muzzle velocity, and you can shoot through bushes, fences, trees, and in certain cases also buildings. And Euro protection doesn't really matter. So here we have 1509 meters per second muzzle velocity and 334 millimeters of penetration. That is roughly in the ballpark of the Roykart and the MX-10RC. So nothing really outstanding or exciting, but it gets the job done, especially for side shots, which you should always prioritize because of your lack of ammunition and also because of your lack of armor and your vulnerability. However, when we finally reach the tier 4 upgrade, the M900, things get really out of control, because this is, hands down, by quite a bit, the very best 105mm APFSDS round in the game. And it really starts with nothing really that uncommon, a muzzle velocity of 1505 meters per second. However, through the inherent abilities of the shell itself, it generates 522 millimeters of penetration at point blank range and 0 degrees angles of attack, which falls off to 486 millimeters at 2000 meters distance, and at 60 degrees angles of attack it's still 302 millimeters. That is just absurd. So roughly the shell has at 1500 meters the values of the DM33 fired from the Leopard 2A6 105mm L55 gun, which is a German main battle tank with the strongest APFSDS round in the game, 1.7 battle ratings higher. But it gets even better. This shell is just a few millimeters less capable as the T90A's 3BM42M round, which is the very best Soviet APFSDS that gets fired from a 125mm gun with a muzzle velocity of nearly 1700 meters per second. And it gets up to 526mm and 304mm at 0 degrees and 60 degrees respectively. This is insane. Even more insane is that it absolutely doesn't matter, because your tier 1 APFSDS is good enough to deal with the Leopard 1 series of tanks that I encountered. So go figure. You have all the LOL pen that you need. But is it really making that difference? Is it really a game changer? I think that, funnily enough, to come right to the verdict here, while the tank on paper is incredible if you think about the theoretical top speed, if you think about the third generation thermal imaging for both the commander and the gunner, and also the strongest APFSDS round being fired from a 105mm in the game at battle rating 9.0, the lack of gun depression and lack of mobility when it comes to the real battle performance really holds it back. And yet, I had my fair share of fun with this tank. Maybe because it was so slow, I didn't run into the enemy like a headless chicken to get decapitated, if that makes any sense. No, I played a bit more cautiously and got then the shots off. And it was really fun. But then again, the lack of ammunition kind of made me doubt sometimes if I should take a shot or not that was a chance at long range. But this tank can be fun. It can be an incredible sniper. However, it makes no sense that it doesn't get the scouting ability, because every other tank in the comparison got it. And I think that this is something that we can expect to change, hopefully. Other than this, a solid, fun tank that is something completely different, gives you a little bit of a Russian flavor in the American tech tree, and I think this is great. But also clearly shown, this is further firepower power creep in the game at battle rating 9.0. Think about it. You fired that round versus 8.0 tanks. You can probably shoot through 10 tanks in a row with that shell if you shoot through the side. That is just crazy. But does it really matter? It depends. Anyway, I thoroughly enjoyed playing this tank, and I hope that you enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think about this tank, the gameplay, the presentation, the review in general, and also what the numbers mean for the game. As usual, thanks for watching, thanks for listening. Don't forget to give this video a like if you did, subscribe if you want to see more, and we'll see each other on the waves, in the skies, and on the battlefields of War Thunder.